I'm very happy to be here today to open the EPA's 2025 Climate Change Conference, focusing on emissions trading and the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CBAM. And it's great that actually, just to pick up on Laura's point about this sort of less known aspect of the way in which we control our emissions in Europe, through the ETS scheme, one of the more successful aspects of it working through the private sector. So it's very useful, I think, today that we start to look at what are success stories in terms of us managing our greenhouse gas emissions. I want, as Secretary General of their parent department, I want to thank the EPA for the invaluable work they do on an ongoing basis in providing the best available scientific data and information to us so that we can make policy decisions based on the best available evidence. And this conference provides a forum for the discussion of emissions trading, just from the perspective of policymakers, regulators and sectoral stakeholders working within those regulations, and of course drawing on international perspectives and domestic experiences. The EPA hold us to account, and so it would be remiss of me not to mention the figures and the projections they produced this morning, and which Laura mentioned in her opening address. As a department, we recognise the scale of the task, and we know we need both action now and imaginative solutions in the coming years to meet the challenge of decarbonising our economy and society. But we should also remember that while the projections point to the amount of work to be done, they're not forecasts. We can change the dial on this by acting in particular ways. So this is not the future set in stone. This is something that says if we keep going as we're doing, this will be the future, but we can change. And we are committed to doing the work, driving delivery and accelerating climate action across government. It's also remembering what we have achieved. Ireland's GDP has seen a six-fold increase and our population has increased by nearly 50% since 1990. Yet emissions are lower today than they were then. That's real decoupling. Few European countries have faced the same growth pressures and still managed to reduce their emissions. And the focus of the government and the Minister is now to accelerate delivery, to close the gap. And that's what we're putting all our energies into. We're not alone in this, of course. Many of you here today, from business to civil society, from across the civil service and our partners in Brussels, play an absolutely vital role in helping deliver the change we want to see and that we need to see happening. We are driving forward implementation of the Climate Action Plan and working with all departments to accelerate our efforts. And we're seeing some progress. It's really important to acknowledge that, because people can start to feel that this is an impossible task, and we must not feel that. We must keep moving forward. Ireland's greenhouse gas emissions have decreased year on year for the last 3 years. The emissions data suggests that government policy is having an impact, that progress is being made, and that the trend is in the right direction. 54,000 homes were retrofitted in 2024, an increase of almost 13% from 2023. The number of electric vehicles in Ireland has more than tripled since the end of 2021, with 148,000 EVs on Irish roads by the end of 2024. Indeed, I contributed one EV to that total. I felt I had to when I got the big gig, you know yourself. In 2023, 40.7% of Ireland's electricity supply came from renewable energy, with our overall energy emissions reaching their lowest rate in 30 years. And that is critical, because if we can put our electricity onto renewable energy and electrify everything else, we will get there. And that's the important thing I think that people need to keep in their heads. We have just also completed a comprehensive land use review to determine the environmental, ecological and economic characteristics of land types across Ireland, and that will inform our next steps across implementation. We acknowledge that the continued changes we need reach into every corner of our lives, but they also bring opportunity with it. But we need to make it happen fairly. And our new Just Transition Commission, charged with providing government with impartial, strategic and evidence-based advice relating to a just transition, are now up and running. You will be hearing from them as a public voice and advocate on planning for a just transition, leading and developing a shared understanding and identifying the challenges, solutions and opportunities for Ireland. And we're also very conscious that our domestic performance has a wider impact, both within the EU and for the EU's climate goals. And in turn, what we do as the EU matters hugely at a global level, setting a leadership example across both policy and practice and showing how climate neutrality can be embedded in our economy and society. Next year, for the first time since 1996 and COP2, Ireland will hold the presidency of the EU during a climate COP, and alongside the Commission will represent EU member states in global climate negotiations. Holding the presidency is a key moment for any EU country, particularly a small one like Ireland. Ireland is rightly, I believe, proud of its track record in presidency work, and we're going to work closely with our EU partners and colleagues and the Commission to help deliver outcomes that will truly make a difference to global progress on tackling climate change. I can say to you honestly, we're not looking forward to it. It's a huge task for the Irish administration to deliver the EU presidency, but we've got a really strong track record in delivering effective presidencies. So we're going to try and achieve the same this time round. Now, back to the actual topic of the conference, the EU emissions trading scheme and the carbon border adjustment mechanism, more commonly known as ETS and CBAM respectively, are good examples of EU climate leadership based on a very straightforward principle that the polluter pays. Following coordinated effort by the EU Commission and Member States to realise the collective abatement of the sectors covered at the lowest cost, the ETS was established 20 years ago, and it was a landmark decision. Since then, there has been a 50% decrease in emissions from the relevant sectors in Ireland. Its longevity and success are a testament to the relentless work of the participants, the Commission and the national competent authorities. But what has proved crucial is the ever-evolving nature of the ETS. Starting off with a limited range of sectors falling under its scope, it has been extended to include aviation and maritime, with a newly introduced ETS2 to cover buildings, road and transport. The revenues generated from ETS have far-reaching benefits, most notably the support given to the EU's Innovation Fund. The fund is one of the world's largest funding programmes for the demonstration of innovative low-carbon technologies, including research into targeted solutions for heavy industry and hard-to-abate sectors. The EU ETS, being one of the largest and first to be established, allows us to maintain our drive to be a global leader in climate action, and we must ensure that we take the opportunity to share our experiences and knowledge in this area with all interested parties. With imitation being the highest form of flattery, the success of the ETS has led to 38 similar schemes in operation across the globe, and a further 11 ETS schemes are being developed in places such as Japan, Brazil, India, Turkey and Chile. And I suppose it's a signal example in the climate world of the EU being the great global regulator, and we export our regulation in many ways. As different international ETS develop, the challenge is to ensure that the same general principles are used and that the various schemes are aligned and are mutually recognised, thus minimising the administrative burdens on international trade, building up the users' and investors' trust and credibility in them. As to the CBAM, as the EU raises its own climate ambition and as long as less stringent climate policies prevail in many non-EU countries, there is a risk of so-called carbon leakage. This occurs when companies based in the EU move carbon-intensive production abroad to countries where less stringent climate policies are in place than in the EU, or when EU products get replaced by more carbon-intensive imports. The EU's solution to this is the carbon border adjustment mechanism, which Ireland supports and is committed to its timely implementation. As a tool that puts a fair price on carbon-intensive products entering the EU, the CBAM has the positive impact of encouraging cleaner industrial practices on a global scale. Systems like ETS and CBAM come with additional burdens as well as benefits for industry, and in recognition of this, the EU is undergoing a reflective process of simplification. For CBAM, this includes measures for small importers, simplified compliance procedures and measures to enhance cooperation and security. And we will have seen, I suppose, just to mention, obviously, that in the recent EU-UK reset, there was a discussion around how the CBAM would implement between those two close trading partners. And we're looking forward to seeing an agreement on that, which is of critical importance to Ireland, in particular in our energy sector. So it would be very important that we deliver an effective solution in that space. 20 years on, it is clear that market-based mechanisms like the ETS have a significant impact on decarbonisation. And crucially, they provide a price certainty to business and industry. We know that stability and predictability matter greatly and facilitate future investment choices. Ireland's continued economic growth, while reducing emissions, shows that the decarbonisation process can go hand in hand with competitiveness, and we believe that decarbonisation can be an essential foundation for Ireland and the EU's future competitiveness. So just to briefly talk about what that means in Ireland. If we implement this the right way here, it will give us a critical advantage, we believe, in the department by reducing external reliance and delivering growth and green jobs, all while supporting a just transition. Speaking of green jobs, just last month, Solace, Ireland's further education skills agency, launched a quarterly skills bulletin which measures the demand for green skills in the Irish labour market. And it found that 75% of employments in Ireland required some level of green skills, and about 400,000 people were in green employment. Outside of the agriculture sector, green employment had a higher average growth rate over the past 5 years, 6.4% compared to the national average of 3.4%. So just to circle back to where I opened, change is coming. We know it's coming. We are delivering in many important sectors, in particular in energy, but we have to do more and we have to lean into this even further. But doing so will help this economy for the future. It is Ireland's future industrial policy. Thank you for your attention.